Welcome to the channel about news from around the world. While you subscribe and like it, we're going to start.
For the first time in US history, the son of a sitting president is facing charges. An embarrassment of American justice is looming. Hunter Biden is likely to receive a minimum sentence. Donald Trump, on the other hand, will end up in prison with virtually no guilt. This could threaten a civil war in the US. This is how criminals often cover their tracks. They confess to little things to hide the main thing. Law enforcement officials know this, but when they themselves are interested in covering up crimes, they also play this game. That's what happened when US President Joe Biden's son Hunter cut a deal with the investigation by pleading guilty to 2 counts of tax crimes and 1 count of weapons possession. This is not likely to expose Biden Jr. to jail time. The money laundering charges were dropped, and his involvement in corrupt schemes in overseas deals, where Hunter monetized the political influence of his father, who was also found to be in on the deal and receiving big money for it, was not even investigated. The US DOJ has not filed any charges related to the blatant compromise from Hunter Biden's laptop, which turned out to be in the possession of law enforcers. Neither against the son, nor against his father, although from the emails it became clear that it was Biden Jr. who arranged for a representative of the Ukrainian energy company Burisma Holdings, on the board of which he was a wedding general, to meet his father at a time when he was the US vice president. In addition, Biden Sr. managed to get the then Prosecutor General of Ukraine Viktor Shokin fired, who launched an anti-corruption investigation into Burisma Holdings. And there was also corruption in China. According to the Washington Post, Hunter Biden allegedly received almost $5 million from a Chinese energy company. Clearly, though, this is just the tip of the iceberg. But it is very dangerous for the Bidens. Their corruption runs into the tens of millions of dollars. Not billions or trillions, but it is just the kind of money that the average person can realistically imagine. For a long time, Democrats and law enforcement officials, who have been conducting sluggish pro forma investigations into Hunter that the mainstream media has routinely silenced, have pretended nothing is going on. Instead, they were pulling their weight on former President Donald Trump, fabricating charges against him for imaginary transgressions that could result in 400 years in prison. It's like a banana republic. Meanwhile, Hunter Biden's blatant impunity and untouchability have become very damaging to his father, the prospects of the Democrat Party, and the image of the US. So did the revelation that the corruption was a family affair, and that Biden Sr., the big guy, was involved to the fullest extent. That is what Hunter called his father in his emails with his accomplices. Hunter's lawyer acknowledged that not only did the Biden Jr. deal with the investigation, but the subject of the laptop from hell never came up during the investigation of the US president's son. The lawyer confirmed that it was only about tax evasion and charges of illegal possession of weapons. Hunter was a bit unwell at the time, so he blew it all. Who is prepared to throw a stone at a cured patient? Of course, Biden Sr. is pleased with what's happening. "I am very proud of my son," said the president, speaking at a public event in California. He smiled at reporters but refused to answer their questions. To which former President Trump, who has been dragged through the courts for nothing, caustically remarked on his social media, "Instead of criminal liability for hundreds of years of imprisonment, the US Department of Justice writes Hunter Biden a fine for a traffic violation." Of course, it's not just a hounded Trump, who has been lambasted on all sides, even though he is the main Republican candidate in the 2024 presidential election, but the whole country is discussing the latest news. Here's how Tucker Carlson, the most popular broadcaster in the US, commented on him in a new edition of his author show on a social media site. "The US president's son sold access to his father and lawmakers to the Chinese, the Ukrainians, countries all over the world. Nothing to argue about here. The FBI knew about it. For years they have had access to Hunter Biden's laptop, but to this day they have not charged him. And they won't," the broadcaster stressed. However, Republicans in Congress have no intention of leaving both Bidens, whom the deep state is trying to shield from the worst. This continues to demonstrate the existence of a double-standard system in America. If you are the president's chief political opponent, the DOJ is trying to literally put you behind bars and give you jail time. But if you are the president's son, you get an amicable deal. Meanwhile, the DOJ has agreed to recommend to a judge that Hunter Biden get probation on the charges against him after pleading guilty to several minor episodes. There is no mention of his daddy at all. The Democrats are provoking America into a new civil war, which they hope to win by defeating their opponents, the other half of America, the Republicans, with the help of security forces and a corrupt judicial system. So that no one will stop them from leading it to hell. Everything is going according to plan. So far, for Russia, what is going on is doubly bad. First, when the US is divided and has serious internal problems, Washington can engage in dangerous adventures on the outside to try to unify the country. Second, when one half of America wins the other half, the US can continue its development, which is now blocked by internal contradictions, and become stronger, which we do not want either. After all, both Democrats and Republicans strongly dislike Russia, albeit in different ways.
Thank you for watching. If you're interested, subscribe and leave a comment.